So working in the back of the 4Runner again, I was trying to figure out a way to make these terminal strips that I installed a while ago a little more accessible. I put this in when I did the rear view camera. What I did at the time was just hooked up the wires to the terminal strip, and then I wrapped it in some tape and just shoved it back behind here because I still had the factory side panels were still here. And I've been hooking up actually a few more wires. So this is an 8 terminal strip. So I've got 2 pair of ground wires there. That's the 2 on the right. And then I have 2 pair of plus 12 volts from the battery. One of them's unused there. And then I have 2 terminals of accessory power. And then I have my parking light signal, which I need to send up to the front of the cab so I can do the backlights for some gauges and things. And then the far left one is ignition power. Yeah, so I just got this hooked up yesterday, ran that ignition wire from my front dual battery switch back here, and then just today I added a wire here that's going to run to the passenger side and then back through the side panels, and that's going to hook into my house battery relays. The house battery will work basically opposite of my dual batteries. So the way the dual batteries are set up is that they have a solenoid that parallels the 2 batteries anytime the ignition is on. The house battery is going to be just the opposite. It will be in parallel with like the starting battery until the ignition comes on. That's why I need that ignition signal. So I think my normal mode will be the house battery will connect in parallel to the starting battery while the truck is off. That way the solar panels can keep the main battery and the house battery charged. And then the auxiliary battery will just be permanently disconnected from the starting battery and the house battery. I took a piece of plywood here, and then I made some wooden spacers that are, I think they're about 1 inch tall. And I just ran a screw here, drilled a hole and ran a little wood screw in, one there and one there, to hold the wood to the back. And then that sets the terminals back enough that you can still get to them, but they're out of the way. When I put the side panel back on here, the wiring will be covered up. And then right here, I have my rear window switch connections there. So there's one is the grounds, and the other one goes into the rear window relay. So that'll be my rear window switch that'll be sitting right in this location in the side panel. I just wrote myself a little note how I have the terminal strip wired there. And then back in the back, you can see I did the same thing down here. This one's a little bit different. I had to offset it a little bit, so I have kind of a angled block here. So the block goes clear to the back of the tail light housing, and then sticks out enough so I can just get to the wires. But what I did here was I just broke out all 5 wires that run into my trailer wiring adapter there. And then I also added the reverse or backup light, which I run up to the rear view mirror camera. So that way the video camera switches on when you go into reverse, and then it switches back to the normal mode. So yeah, that was really handy there too, because again, I needed to tap into all these wires right here, but I didn't want to just put a bunch of spade lugs and try to hook up connectors and all that stuff. This way, all the wires are right here. So I've got the ground, left, right turn, tail light, and brake light, and then reverse light. I've got 2 extra terminals there, but that's all future use. I don't think I'll need them, but they're there. Yeah, and then over on the passenger side, I just ran the wire with the ignition signal, and so that wire comes back here, and right there I have a little Dean's connector It's a 2-conductor wire. I'm only using one right now, but I figure run a 2-conductor wire and have it there in case I need something later. So I'm going to plug the house battery relays into there. It'll feed 2 switches that will then control 2 relays that the ignition signal will turn the relays on and off, and then that'll either connect or disconnect the starting and auxiliary battery from the house battery. I have to run 2 pair of wires up with the wires off of the starting battery and the auxiliary battery. I got to run power and ground up here, and that'll connect into those 2 relays that'll be back here. We got the ignition wire. That was a big stumbling block. I was trying to figure out how do I get that wire over here. When I replaced the dual battery switch, there's the ignition wire. I put an extra connector, ran that to the terminal strip over there, and then ran that wire over here. So I don't have to drill any holes. I don't have to run wires through the firewall. It's just right here. So yeah, that part's ready. That's been holding me up for quite a while. Was just trying to figure out how do I get ignition power way back here. Still a few things to hook up, but yeah. Anyway, just thought I'd show you that. So as always, thanks for watching.